Okay, this is the signature for our show. We start off every show handing the guest two cards. And if you could read them and then tell me what they mean to you, and I'll tell you why I picked them for you.
Great leaders. Leaders are humble and lead by example. Leaders are optimists. King, Ace of Diamond. For me, leaders are humble and lead by example is something that I think personifies what I would say my life is about. Servant leadership. The idea that you lead not because you're crowned to lead, but you lead because it's in your heart. And you lead because you care about those that you serve, and you care about the cause that you represent, whatever that cause might be, whether it be coaching, whether it be a leader on a team, but you care about the trajectory of the overall team. You care about, in my case, as the city's mayor, I care about everything that's associated with the city. And you can't care about things without a spirit of humility. Authentic care and compassion is humble, I think. And then leaders are optimists. I used to tell a story about kids, two kids who were twins, and the twins had different personalities. And the one kid was optimist, the other one was a pessimist. And parents wanted to figure out what to do with these kids. So took them to the doctor. The doctor says, give the optimist a room full of manure for Christmas and give the pessimist everything that he could imagine. And when Christmas came, the optimist and the pessimist went in, and he still negative. Everything he wanted was there, but he found something to complain about. And the optimist digging through that pile of manure, and he says, they can't fool me. There's a pony somewhere underneath this manure. So he saw it as positive. And I've always told that story because I just believe that when you see things from a positive perspective, you will get the results that you want. They may not come immediately or in the time frame that you would like, but if you stick to it and you persevere and your mind is right, things work out. But very seldom do things work out when you don't have the right mindset.
Wow. Well, I don't think anyone could have explained those cards better, so I appreciate that. There's a reason why I chose those two cards, and I'll get into that. But first, we know you're a basketball guy, and it's actually what we do because we're athletes ourselves, is we do a scouting report. Mm-hmm. So for those listening, the whole point of why we started this podcast, this is how we made it, this is how I made it, is there's different interpretations of what that is. It could be just being happy, it could be financially, it could be politically, it could be as an athlete, as a coach, as a teacher, whatever the case may be. But we wanted to provide insight, inspiration, and value for those listening. If they're younger and it's someone that's looking to gain some type of information to help them, older in life, and you're trying to reshape your career, you're starting a family, whatever the case may be, we wanted to be positive and create some type of positive value in people's lives. So definitely appreciate you having on. The scouting report for you, it's a stacked one. You're definitely a handful for the defense. You're the mayor of Daytona Beach. This is your fourth term, serving your fourth term. You also, teacher, basketball coach, you were the assistant principal, you're the former Daytona Beach City Commissioner, and under your leadership, for those listening, if they're listening to you for the first time, unemployment has decreased, property values have increased, commercial development and private investments have grown, minority hiring in city government has risen, and crime rates have trended downward. So those are all amazing. And your education and civic service notes and roles, your executive director, Step-by-Step Expressions, and the Volusia County Social Studies Teacher of the Year in 1998 and 1999. You coached 3 state championship basketball teams, 95, 96, and 98. 98's a great year, by the way. And you earned a master's in educational leadership from Stetson University. And you graduated from Rollins College in 1991 with dual majors in philosophy and psychology, and earned a master's in educational leadership from Stetson University.
Well, it sounds like me.
Yeah, you're a humble guy, so I know this is usually I don't want to say the hardest part, but you're a servant leader. You're someone who's very humble. You probably don't go around bragging about yourself, but you've obviously accomplished amazing things, and you've impacted so many people. And that's actually what I wanted to start off with. So for those listening, I don't even know if I told you guys this story. I was in Atlanta. I had a radio show at 92.9 The Game. I ended up moving back to Florida. And at first I was staying with my brother from another mother in Titusville. He works for NASA. He played football for Bethune-Cookman, Robert McKenzie. And I was covering the Magic by night. I bet on myself instead of just working at a radio station. ESPN started sharing our interviews that we do. And I'm like, you know what? Let's bet on ourselves. In today's era, with content, with social media, we can do this. We can start. We have our podcast. We're covering the Magic. Let's do this. So I moved back from Atlanta, and I was working Nike part-time. It's also where I met Josh. But then my mom was an educator, and especially in the Volusia County School. She lives in North Carolina now. She's like, Max, why don't you substitute during the day instead of working retail where you have to work at night or work weekends possibly? Substitute during the day. This way you have the Magic games by night. I'm like, no one really teaches you this part of the grind, being able to juggle, pay your bills, but yet chase your dreams. So it was very odd because I was getting this exposure and getting in contact with my idols. I had an internship in Fox Sports in LA, but yet I'm still struggling to pay my bills. So I had to find a daytime job to support the dream. So here I am at Ormond Beach Middle School, substitute teaching. And I remember speaking to Justin Valajo. And he's like, you know, Mayor Henry's there. I'm like, Mayor Henry? The mayor of the town is working in the school? He's like, yeah, he just works his butt off and he helps people. And I remember going in your office and introducing myself, and I would have never have known you were the mayor because of how humble you were and how you were there for every kid. You were there for every teacher. Every time I wanted to talk with you, you made time to speak with me. You always greeted me in the hallways. And that, to me, was the epitome of a servant leader. Like the way that you treated other people around you, I would have no idea you had the title. And that's something we teach in the Passion for Excellence course is a boss has a title, but the leader has the people. And so it's very easy for people to follow you because the way you make yourself so available and wanting to help everybody. So I just wanted to say thank you to that. And that's obviously how I met you. So I appreciate you coming on the show as well.
Glad to be here. And I do remember meeting you and remember thinking about the potential and the positivity that you brought in the conversation. And everyone on the campus, including the principal, they wanted to hire you, so you were doing things that spoke about your character and who you were. So it was easy to embrace, you in that moment.
Well, I appreciate that. And the first thing I really want to get into, obviously, being Mayor Henry and just you getting here, you're obviously pulled in a lot of different directions. You have a lot of pressure on you. Who were you before the mayor? Like, did you know you wanted to be Mayor Henry? Is that something you always wanted to be, was to be a mayor and to impact the society in that way?
Essentially, we all want to think that we're unchanged by a job, but I want to think that I was pretty much the same person that I am today, in that I was a person who cared about the community and the big picture of where I lived, and that's really how I got involved in politics. My vision was to merge my passions. I'm a spiritual guy, so I wanted to merge my sense of spirituality, my love of education, and my love of community together. And that's how I decided to run for public office. And I thought when I was elected, I'd be able to bring those three things together. Of course, it wasn't as easy as I thought. There's much more to every job than we imagine until we get into the job. But for the most part, over the last 12, 15 years, I have seen pockets and pockets of all of that come together over time. Now, it's not perfect, and it's not all about any one of those three things. But when they all marry together and I see myself bringing kids from the community together and developing their character and doing so through the auspices of the city government, because ultimately the objective is to create young people who can give back to the community that we live in, or a community in another space. And so that's who I was then, and it remains my driving purpose for work. So in that sense, I'm unchanged, but I am changed by the job because the nuances and the depth and the magnitude of the job, it grows every day and it's different every day. It's never the same. But for me, the purpose is always the same. How do I make Daytona Beach a better place? How do I help the people who live here
Right.
to have a better experience. And most importantly, how do I marry the people to the purpose of a great city, which I believe is the driving force behind my service.
That's amazing. Is that something you can game plan for? Like, how do you know how to help the city before you get in that position? How do you know, okay, this is what I would do, this is how I would do it, here are the areas that I think need the most focus, like you said, the youth? How do you formulate that game plan?
Great question. First of all, I had ideas of my own, and that's where those ideas came from.
Okay.
But in order to get elected, you have to develop a strategy, a game plan, and I did that. I recruited volunteers, most of whom had been my students. They went with me and knocked on doors. Wow. And the number one thing that we did was we took surveys. We surveyed the width and the breadth of this community. So the city has 6 zones. So I surveyed each zone with a series of, say, 7, 8 questions. We would ask them, and then one open-ended question. And then I created a platform based on those surveys tailored to each zone in each neighborhood, so that my vision would resonate with the people,
right,
and I could express to them that this wasn't my vision. This was your vision and what you shared with me. Now it's my job to execute this plan and to work the plan, as if you elect me.
Right.
And so that's really, I think, was the selling point. I always told the residents that before I ask you to listen to me, I promise to listen before I ask to be heard. So great leaders, they're about listening and hearing and recognizing that the best ideas normally don't come from within, but they come from outside. Mm-hmm. And if you take what you have inside, what you've learned, and you marinate it and work it in with what other folks have and the vision that they give you, oftentimes you can go to new stratospheres in the vision that you have and that the community has.
The power of listening. Yeah. It's a superpower. So who taught you how to lead people, how to listen to people, how to bring people together, how to understand the value of community? What taught you that?
Well, I would say, my parents, first of all. My dad was a great coach, and I admired the way that he worked with young people and how he would get them, when they didn't have very much talent, to buy into a role on a team and take that role, and it would make the team better. So he would take all of the pieces, put them together, and he would have kids, believing that they could do things and doing things as a group and as individuals, and then collectively building winning teams because of his ability to sell, his ability to deposit a sense of positivity into his players, and most importantly, his authentic, sincere love for people. He was just is just a nice person.
Right.
And it was, and that resonated with others. And I believe that leaders who are compassionate and caring, and they exude that, you're going to get people to follow you if it's natural and it's authentic. Mm-hmm. And so I learned, I think, mostly from my dad, and then my mom, who was and is smart, but she's also very confident, and she taught me to believe in myself, and she modeled that without arrogance or pride. It was a simple, humble, but she was never. She could be in any situation, and even as a woman, she was always able to handle her own without making other people feel bad. But she just had a way of conducting herself, and I always admired that as a kid growing up, and kind of patterned myself after that too.
You talked about spirituality a little bit. If you don't mind me asking, is this so faith plays a big role in your life and your leadership?
Yeah, faith plays. I'm a Christian, but I'm not a Christian that believes in beating others upside the head. I just believe in modeling the reality of God as I see Him and as He as He is inside of me. I try to let that shine. But most importantly, I think a sense of spirituality is a daily grind of reflection. Looking in the mirror to see how you did today. At the end of the day, taking a look and checking off how you did on that checklist. But more importantly than did I check everything off, what did I do today to make this world a better place? What did I do for others? Funny thing is, I asked my son that the other day. I was thinking about, because he's 13 and you want a kid to start thinking about what they're going to do with their lives. Yeah. So my question for him was, how can you help other people with your life? Are you thinking about how you can help other people? So at the end of the day, I take a test, and I ask myself, what did I do to help someone else?
Right.
And that's a part of my spirituality, because the journey is not worth it if you're not carrying others with you. I can go to the highest of mountains, but if I go alone, it'll just be a lonely mountain.
Because I wanted to ask you that it seems like people in high pressure situations, or if there's a lot at stake, the magnitude of the position, usually serving a higher purpose or having something that grounds you helps you deal with that type of pressure, understanding that this is something bigger than you. So is that, would you say, is a huge way you deal with pressure? Or if there's anyone listening who's in a situation that requires just a lot of pressure, maybe it's a single mother, maybe it's somebody who's trying to just pay their bills, or somebody who's trying to make it in life, well, what would be your piece of advice to help them deal with pressure?
Well, pressure is either real or it's imagined. And it's real because we embrace it as a reality, and it's imagined if we just think about it and we let it do to us what it should not be capable of doing, and it's okay for it to be real, but if you're prepared, then you can deal with it. So, but the problem is that when you allow your imagination to take you in places that's not good, then the pressure explodes and you can't handle it.
Right.
But when you know that it's real and that the stakes are great, because the stakes are great, the work that I do is real.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking about folks who need employment opportunities, who need housing, folks who need police protection, fire protection, and we have to be able to deliver the resources that they need so that they can live what I refer to, or the Bible refers to, as the abundant life. So it is real, but it can only do what you allow it to do. But if you do what you've prepared for, you will be okay in those pressure-packed situations.
Right.
And I sit on the dais with 6 other people, and when I'm trying to get something done, recently we had a major vote on affordable housing that I wanted to get something passed that I thought was important. I've been working on it for about 5 years. And the community, a lot of people in the community came against it, mainly realtors, because they thought it would affect their bottom line. And I was losing the battle that night because they were making great arguments. And they came with a counter plan. And the plan that they came with was a good plan. But I really wanted the plan that I had planned for.
Right.
So at the end of the day, when my turn came to try to tie all of this in, I allowed everyone to speak. Instead of fighting against their plan, I asked my colleagues on the commission, can you see yourselves embracing both plans? Why do we have to have one or the other? When this is such an important issue, and for 5 years this has been our number one agenda item, the number one thing that we as a commission have said that we want to address. Now, because the pressure is on and because the realtors have come in, and they haven't been here for 5 years talking to us, but they're here tonight. It doesn't mean that it doesn't matter, because it matters to them. That's why they're here. But it also matters to the thousands of people that we've heard.
Right.
Why don't we choose both plans and we can do even more? Needless to say, I was victorious. They went away really angry because I got two major strategies put in place to help, and they lost.
Yeah.
But for me, and I said we shouldn't look at this as a win or lose situation. We should look at it as a situation where people who need affordable housing got a victory. And so at the end of the day, I say all of that to say that that was a pressure-packed moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know how I was going to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all night I'm sitting there jotting down notes. And at the last moment, that came to me. But that's what I mean by when the moment comes, you will be able to deliver if you've prepared for that moment.
Right.
And I had prepared for dealing with affordable housing for years.
Yeah,
and I
you were
knew I
ready.
couldn't let my constituents down.
Do you think sports has played a role in this too? You being an athlete, you being a coach, and knowing how to deal with, I mean, obviously it's a completely different pressure situation, but do you notice that?
Sports plays a role in everything that I've done. There is nothing that I do that I don't reflect back to sports, whether it be coaching or playing, or I can recall like it was yesterday, losing a game 85-84 to New Smyrna High School 35 years ago, and we had 5 seconds to go, and the coach drew up a play, and I didn't get the ball. You know, and it still hurts to this day. Not because of the coach.
This is the MJ
play
right
on
now.
Play on the play on the court
Yeah.
defined that I wouldn't get the ball.
Yeah.
The other team did their job.
Right. Right.
You know, and so, but that still defines me in the sense that I wanted that moment,
Mm-hmm.
and I always want the big moment. I may not have gotten the moment, may
But
not
you were
have
ready for
gotten the ball. I was ready for it, and I was also ready for the results. Losing in the 94 Final Four as a coach was one of the most difficult times of my life. I lost, and I couldn't talk for weeks after that. I was a coach. And so
What
I'm
team was
saying
this,
that
by
to
the
say
way?
it was 94, Vince Carter's junior year.
So you coached with Coach Brink.
Yeah. So we lost, and Coach Brink will tell you we were beat down by that defeat, and we made mistakes that we thought we should not have made, and when we look back at it, we both do. But I learned from that how to deal with defeat.
Yeah.
After those 2 weeks of not talking, being hurt, and not being able to get over it, I had to find a way to deal with that pain, and I don't know if I ever really got over it, but sports. To answer your question,
Yeah.
means everything.
That was going to ask you next. Is the most successful people we know,
Mm-hmm.
all are the biggest failures in a great way. They fail fast, they learn, they fail, they take risks, they bet on themselves, they persevere. But everyone deals with failure and loss a little bit differently. So for yourself, how do you deal with failure? And what would you recommend? Because there may not be one universal answer for everybody. But if someone that is struggling with failure or scared to fail, what would you say to them?
The first thing is that if you haven't failed, you haven't done anything challenging. You haven't challenged yourself enough. You know, and I can't say anything more about failure than that. Anybody can play in a safe playground, you know, but life is not worth living until you've taken a risk. And it's not thrilling until you've taken a risk that you didn't know if you would win or lose, and you've won. So that's the thrill. The thrill is succeeding in an arena or in an environment that you were uncertain about. So the first thing I say to people is about failure is the first thing you have to do is you have to get up. You can't remain prostrate. Successful people are not determined or defined by their failures. They're defined by how they respond to them. So get up. And then the second thing is you always create a plan, And then the third thing, you work the plan. So in all of that is you try again. It doesn't have to be the same thing, because you can fail at something and you don't get a second chance.
Right.
But sometimes you get a second chance. But whether you get a second chance in that or you choose something else, you go out and choose something else that will be just as rewarding if you succeed at it. So when I fail at things, I either try that again or I find something just as hard or even harder to pursue. I don't go backwards, because that which I've already done, I don't need to do that again. Mm-hmm. I know the thrill of that. That's the competitive side of me.
Right.
It's that side that says, I'm always seeking my next challenge, So, yeah.
Two things I know Josh and I are always told is, we got told this from the Lomans, from Mike, we hear it repeatedly, is who you choose to spend your life with and what you choose to do with your life are two of the biggest decisions you'll make. For you, I know you talked about you finding your purpose, but in every conversation we have, we're always asking, hey, what are you up to? Or when we catch up with old friends or you're asking somebody what they're involved in day to day, is that like their purpose? Is that what they're looking forward to do? For people out there who may not necessarily be happy working their job, or they're graduating college and they're trying to find their purpose, do you think purpose finds you, or do you find it?
Well, I think both can be true. You can stumble upon your purpose and you can say, oh, I never knew, or you can have a dream and have a vision, and that really becomes your purpose because you've envisioned something and
right.
You really do like it. But, a lot of times we have dreams and we get to it and we get there and we realize that this is not for me. Mm-hmm. So I think both can be true. I think you can either stumble on it or you can find it. But either way, I think that you have to want it, and I don't think you have to be in a perfect situation to live your purpose. So in other words, while you're being a substitute teacher, you can do both at the same time.
Right.
And I've been in education for 35 years. 4 years ago, I was ready to quit because of COVID, because of the response that we were getting from children. It was very hard, and it was frustrating. Now, and I'm at the back nine of my career, but I'm as happy as I've ever been in education. And that was all because of time, because of the space that I'm in, and because of a reshaping of my own attitude, and just, challenging myself to make certain that I was making the most of the opportunity and not complaining.
Do you ever, I don't want to say do you ever doubt, because I think everybody has doubt, but you ever have moments where you don't know what to do? Like, what are your habits in those moments where you're stuck, not necessarily stuck, but you're going through a hard moment, you may have self-doubt, you don't know how to deal with the situation. Is there any habits you fall back into? Is there any type of routines that you have to overcome those moments?
Well, if it's about doubt, I don't know that I have a lot of doubt, but I do have a lot of uncertainty, because you can never be sure of the outcome of what you're doing. But you cannot be afraid because you're uncertain. So when I'm uncertain of what the outcome is going to be, I think about what I want the outcome to be, and I think about what the outcome is if I don't pursue what I want. So is my fear or apprehension so great, so important, so overwhelming, or is my agenda, is the outcome that I want more important? Is it important enough for me to take that risk, to run through that wall, to overcome my uncertainty? And when the answer is yes, I go. But if I'm so uncertain, so afraid, then I don't have what it takes to do that.
Right.
And there are some things that I'm not built for. I watched a policeman I had to watch a tape as mayor of a policeman who came into a room where a guy's holding a knife to a girl's neck, and he had to shoot the guy to save the woman. And I went away sort of changed by that, because I knew that I really wasn't wired for that work. But I had to be wired for the work of mayor, to be able to give that guy the resources that he needs to do the job that he had. So, everything I'm not wired for, and I'm not good at everything. And as a parent, I try to lead my children towards their strengths. And as a mayor, as a leader, as a coach, I try to lead others towards their strengths, because we have better success when we know our strengths and our weaknesses. And it doesn't mean that we run from everything that we're not good at, but we have to be prepared to know that we're not necessarily going to get the best outcome if it's not our skill set.
There's 10,080 minutes in a week, and some people, time management is a challenge, or being on time and dealing with multiple things, multitasking. I mean, just that story alone, you obviously have a lot of different things thrown your way and people relying on you and pulling you in different directions, whether it's development, if it's the police, it's the fire department, the educational system. I'm sure there's a million other things I'm leaving off. How do you manage and deal with so many different things at once?
Well, that's a great question. And it's easy to say you prioritize, and I try to do that. Mm-hmm. But more importantly than just prioritizing and creating a list of things that I have to do, I just work. I have an attitude of gratitude about the opportunity to work and to do things and to contribute and to make a difference. So whatever's on my plate, I do prioritize things, but I try to consume what's on my plate. If it's on my plate, I go after it. I try to do it. And I do check it off. I do celebrate. I do take time to be grateful for the opportunity to finish task. But then I also try to put what's most important in its place, which are my children and my wife. And I doesn't mean that they get the majority of my time, but it does mean that I make certain that they get quality time. So I make sure that I'm super positive with my children, super positive, smiling, hugging them, reminding them of how great they are, reminding them of what they are capable of, waking them up, stroking their heads, kissing them, boy and girl, adult son, kissing him, just being affectionate. And so because that liberates me to be able to consume what's on my plate. Mm-hmm. Because I know that what's most important to me, which are those people, right, family and children, I've given them everything and the best of me. And so when my plate is full, I can go consume that plate, because when I'm with them, I'm not shucking and jiving, I'm not crapping on them, I'm not beating them in the ground, I'm loving on them. So when I'm released to go, I know that they have the comfort in knowing that though Daddy is busy, I'm still first in his heart.
That's amazing.
So that's important to me.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. Last 10 minutes here, so it's going to be a little bit of rapid fire. Mm-hmm. When you think about the future of Daytona Beach, what do you see?
I see a Ferris wheel on the beach. I see an improved boardwalk. I see a city that will continue to blossom and grow westward. I see a vibrant downtown. I see a main street that becomes as beautiful as downtown Daytona Beach. I continue to see bikes and cars rumbling in for races, but most importantly, I see a city where children can grow up and pursue their dreams. They can be born here and they can pursue almost anything that they want.
Beautiful. Is there any projects coming up or anything recently? Obviously we just had Biketober, but is there anything in development now that you want people to know about?
Well, we're hoping to get another large hotel on the beachside that will help us to get enough, because any area is going to thrive because it has density of people.
Right.
And that's what we need is density on our beach side. And so we're hoping to get another large hotel that will help with density near the boardwalk. And we're hoping to get some more rides and things of that nature on the boardwalk.
Amazing. When your time as mayor is done, what do you want, or even, we'll go as mayor, what do you want people to remember you as, or remember your service as?
That when opportunities came for our city, I was not afraid to lead us through the window of opportunity. For many years, Daytona Beach had a reputation of being a city that says no. No to developers, or no to people who brought new ideas and new projects to our community. Before I came, we probably would have said no to One Daytona. We probably would have said no to Tanger Outlets.
Those are
and they are major developments for our community that we needed. And there are many other things. We could have, very likely would have said no to Amazon with 1,000 fulfillment jobs. And so there are just many things that I have helped to lead my colleagues on the city commission into a posture of positivity and saying, yes, Daytona Beach will not be the same city that we were 20 years ago. We will be a city that people will look back on and say, wow, look how much the city has changed. And some of it may not be for the best. I don't like the traffic on LPGA. I live on LPGA, and I have to get through that traffic every morning.
Yeah.
But I knew that traffic was going to be
a
problem and a part of it.
Yeah.
And I lived there, and I was willing to do the things that we did because I knew that it was best for our posterity. So I want people to know that I was a mayor who said yes, who believed in our possibility, and who believes in our future.
That's amazing. Two more questions. Mm-hmm. The last one I just made up as we were talking is, I talked to Coach Brink a while back. I did an interview with him at Daytona State. Mm-hmm. And because there was one story that went viral. I think Bleacher Report shared something where Vince Carter's fingerprints were on the top of the backboard, and the janitor went to go clean the backboard or something and noticed, he's like, what in the world, fingerprints on the top of the backboard? Who could have done that? Did you know right away, okay, this Vince is just something I've never seen before, he's special?
Without a shadow of a doubt. It was probably the third game of the season of his sophomore season. And, of course, I was Brink's assistant coach. I was associate head coach. And Vince had maybe 8 blocks and maybe 34 points and 7 dunks. And he was only 15 years old. And my brother was an All-American at Mainland. And he was the all-time leader in points. He's still the all-time leader in assists, single season and career.
Gosh.
I went home and I called him. And I said, when this kid is done, you will be forgotten. Wow. You will not be remembered for anything. Everyone who came before him can hang up any records that they've had and any possibility of thinking that they mattered. Because when he's done, he will be the GOAT of Mainland High School basketball, without a doubt. So it was easy to see. It was easy. It was just.
Was there one play that stood out to you in his time in high school?
Well, there was one play that stood out that I think was important for him and for us to be the championship team that we aspired to be. And we were in Chipola, Florida, playing Miami Norland High School, and they had a guy by the name of Tim James, who was a state champion high jumper. And so it was a great game, a great matchup. This was one of those games where they bring you in and bring their team in to play. And Vince drove down the lane, and Tim James is at the lane to take a charge. Vince takes off well outside the free throw line, and he puts one of those tomahawk dunks and literally kicks him in the chest and slams the ball through the rim, gets called for a technical. But when he did that, I knew that he was becoming the man child, the dominant force the fearless competitor that you needed him to be, and that he was capable of being. And I just looked at Coach. He's ready. He's ready. He's ready. And so so that was, and there were many plays that he had that were incredible. You know, catching lobs from 3/4 court and dunking backwards. Those were things we hadn't seen people do. I'd never seen anyone do that. And I knew Mainland had
athletes
who were 7-foot high jumpers, state champions. We had a guy who won the state championship in the high jump and the long jump in the same season. We don't know if that's ever been done. So, and he was a great basketball player, but there was only one Vince Carter.
Sheesh. My last question for you, because again, I really appreciate your time, is what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given, and what would be your piece of advice to someone listening to this now?
Well, probably the best piece of advice that I've ever been given is to never, to make certain that you don't go to bed as dumb as you were when you woke up. And so learn something every day that's worthy, that's worthwhile. I'm not talking, silly trivia, but learn something that's worthwhile. So in order to do that, you have to apply yourself. And so the second thing would be, for me, and this would be my advice, I've always said learn something. But I always tell people, after you learn, application.
Apply it to your
life.
life.
There's no application, there's no purpose, there's no use. So do both.
Mayor Henry, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Thank you for your service. I know we really appreciate it. And again, it's just an honor. So
thanks, Max. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Great setup, and I appreciate you having me.
Anytime.